How is the novel setting connected to context? What is the context? Okay, so we're in like 1986 England. This is really important. The better responses, the better essays will talk about this. It's written in England in 1986, but it's about Japan post-World War II, very early post-World War II and around that period, right? What's the similarity? What's the similarity between them? There's a parallel that's really important. So they're kind of mirrors, they're mirroring each other, just in different contexts. Who was in charge in 1986 in England? Thatcher, and they call it Thatcherism, right? Thatcherism. Now, someone tell me basically what that was about, Thatcherism. What did Margaret Thatcher stand for? She was very conservative, which actually means she wanted the government to be less involved in things, which meant that workers would have less protection. Everyone knows about unions, and you've heard about unions standing up for people. When you have strikes and things like that, that's unions protecting workers. But Margaret Thatcher kind of wanted all of that to be less involved, and she just wanted the market to kind of play out, but that meant workers were more vulnerable and people lost their job. And right, there was the UK miners' strike. So these are specific contextual elements that you want to try and weave into your essay. Those conservative values that Thatcher brought into England, they were the new values, right? But before Thatcher came in, so just before the novel was kind of published, it was actually very progressive. Workers' rights were kind of the priority. So again, that's a period of, and note this down, this is the crucial phrase here. These are both periods of social and political flux. So we have two periods of social and political flux, so that's how you can connect the set-in to the context. How does Ono's reputation change before and after World War II, and why? Well, I've already spoken about that, so you should be able to give me an answer now on that one. There's different ideologies. It's a good word, right? That just means like your worldview, how you see the world, the values you stand for, right? Those ideals that you strive towards. But what I would get you to do here is go a little bit more deeper on that. Give me a specific example. What ideology to what ideology? What influence is now coming into Japan? American influence, and what value is the number one value in America? Democracy. So you got democratic values. But before World War II, right? Before World War II in Japan, it alluded to it at times in the novel. It didn't go too much into it because he probably didn't want to think too much on it. But when things got really bad before World War II, and Ono was a huge propaganda artist then, he actually started, what was he? He was a police informant. He actually worked more in the political realm then, and he was trying to, any art that was seen to be unpatriotic was being taken down. So we had censorship, and you had a lot of totalitarian control going on before World War II, which Ono was a part of. Now we're going to democratic values, individual freedoms. So make sure that when you refer to ideological change, cultural shifts, you don't just say those words because they don't mean a whole lot unless you actually say what values. Democratic values, right? Totalitarian control. You've got to say something specific, right, about those two time periods. We have old values and new values. And if you're someone like Ono who represented or embodied the old values, it's very difficult to come to terms with the new values, especially when the new values are ones that actually do say, what about the old values? What are the new values? It's not just as simple as, oh, we have old values, new values. There's actually one further layer. There's one further step there. The new values are saying, what about the old values? Discredit them. Who said that? Very good. Invalidate. Imagine if you worked for 50 years on something and then said, oh, everything you did there actually just led to a war and destruction. That's not an easy thing to swallow, right? So I like that. So it discredits the old values, which means Ono has to somehow reconcile himself to that. Okay, again, in the England context here, 1986, Thatcher, we were after World War II, there were a lot of progressive values, right? They called it the welfare state. The welfare state, it was called, right? A lot of progressive values, which meant we want to help everyone, we want to help all the workers. We need to put lots of laws and rules in place to protect people. Businesses or business owners don't always like that, right? Because often it means they have to pay their workers more, right? They don't get to decide how much to pay them and things like that. Margaret Thatcher came in, right, around that period when it was written and actually tried to almost reverse what was happening. And she said, no, we're not going to protect the workers as much. We're going to let the market just play out, and the workers, you're on your own. Okay? I'm oversimplifying it, but you're on your own. So that's what Thatcher's doing. So very conservative, didn't want the government to be too involved in what's happening with business and things like that.